I guess you didn't know that I'm a different breed. Yes, indeed. Got the king, he and me, taking off high speed with the key. I can be anything I wanna be. I'm too hot for you, dog. You can call me Sneaky Pete. Throwing shade at your boy. I'ma cut down your tree. Matter of fact, I'ma leave it just so I can get a breeze. This too easy. I got Christ, and I know that he got me. Undefeated in the game. Yeah, we on a winning spree. Knocking on our adversary, toe to toe like I'm my league. Cause I'm a youngin' and I'm getting.
Welcome to Mech's on Deck, Mech Madness.
There it is.
How's everyone doing tonight? Welcome to the Mech Madness Live. It's Friday. We are here. How you doing, Chewy?
I'm good, man. It's the end of the week. It's Friday, end of the work week. Mech Madness, it's been a fun week. I've been enjoying the fact that during the week, I've been able to cast my votes. I've seen some blowouts, some upsets, some things that have made me legitimately mad, some things that have made me, I feel like I get way more angry than I am happy, at least in the first round. That's how it goes, though, sadly. You just kind of, you live and learn, and you have to live with the results. And that's the results is what we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah, I just want to give a big little
Howdy
to everyone in chat. Also, we have a couple sounds courtesy of our good friend Langlandia. So big shout outs to him. I know he's in chat. I saw him earlier. He's a man of many things, and he has a beautiful voice, and he has bestowed it upon my stream deck.
Absolutely. So a big shout out. Anyway, welcome to the live show brought to you by Dixie Mech, who is putting this on. For those who are unaware, Mech Madness tournament going on right now. If you want to know how to vote, make sure you follow Dixie Mech on Instagram to cast your votes. The voting for today, they've all been posted. They haven't finished yet. So all of the votes that are available today are still live. So if you've not casted your votes, make sure to cast your votes now or at any point in the next 12 hours.
Yeah, it's been really fun week. There's been a lot of ups and downs, I'll say, between a couple different things. I think generally everything's probably a little bit closer. Today we're going to kind of go through the matchups that have happened already. We're going to go through some of the ones that we feel like were upsets, some that were going to be,
dominated.
Yeah, some people did get dominated there. So, yeah, we're going to go through those. We're going to take a peek over at next week's and what's to come before next week's show.
Yeah, I'm very excited. It's just, we're full steam ahead. We're full steam ahead for the next 2 to 3 weeks. It's going to be busy, lots of voting before it kind of slows down into the later rounds where things really start getting interesting. So, but yeah, once again, desk mats, keyboards, key sets, all three have been simultaneously going on. Desk mats has been I think we should start with desk mats.
Starting with desk mats.
Because it's been a lot of people kind of thought it was a toss up.
Yeah, I mean, it has been. There have been some very, very close matchups. There's also been some that were,
not even close.
It's never going to get old.
Never going to get old. But yeah, I think there's a couple that I think really surprised some people. Looking at the brackets, I think desk mats was the one that most people were like, what the hell do I do here?
Yeah, you're essentially voting for a design. You're voting for a picture, and there's no artistic imagery, because we're going to go into what I do think some pictures that were chosen that could have had a different outcome whether or not a picture had been chosen. So we're going to get into that. But desk mats, there's not really that option. it's kind of one of those things where it's an even playing field. Everything was randomized, and at the end of the day, it you're just voting for what people like and what people dislike, and that's kind of why Deskmats is the biggest toss up. So I'm excited to kind of get into some of these responses and some of these matchups. We definitely had some blowouts across the board. I think we're going to have very opinionated people based on whether or not it's color or a design. So the first one, if I'm making sure I am on Deskmat, that I do want to talk about though is Eternal versus Magic Girl Pink. Unfortunate.
Yeah, I think that one was pretty intense, complete and utter. I get
total domination.
That's what that one was. So yeah, I think Eternal was a set that was fairly successful, whereas DSA Magic Girl was something that maybe not a lot of people knew about. I think some people did know, but it wasn't as prevalent as Eternal was. Eternal was in that kind of late summer, early fall of last year, big push for Cat. It was after Mentorly had her first set, SA Bliss, which did incredible. And Eternal, it had great art, great colors. Not to say DSA Magic Girl did not, but that Deskmat was complete and utter domination. Yeah,
and I want to say it was the biggest, or it was one of the biggest dominations in the entire so far in the first round. It is the second biggest domination, I believe. So at 83% voted for Eternal over Magic Girl. So the people spoke. These are all votes. Magic Girl didn't even break. It did not even break 500 votes. So I don't think it was. I don't think it was really expected to win. No. But
yeah,
I don't know.
It's
total and utter. We're going to work on that. There it is.
There you go. There we go.
Come
on. But no. So the next one that I kind of want to get into is one that might have been a upset for people, and that would be the GMK Waves Deskmat versus the Dixie Home Sweet Home. The Waves ended up winning by a little over 600 votes, which I think was a little bit of an upset there. I think a lot of people really thought that the Home Sweet Home was going to win because it did have a lot of hype when it first came out. I think it was something that really a lot of people liked, whereas the Waves Deskmat was a little bit more basic. Wasn't as flashy, wasn't as over the top. Not Home Sweet Home's not over the top, but it's classy, and it's
classic,
cool,
it's subtle.
Yeah, you could use it as a welcome mat.
You actually could. I mean, this is one that I was unfortunately sad to see get knocked out of the tournament. If you've watched some of my build streams, that's the one that I build on. It's a very it's just a cool concept, but unfortunately, once again, the people voted 600 points. That's a 61% over 39% victory. So you're not going to see, that's kind of where the margin where it's like, oh, that's a substantial amount of people don't like the Home Sweet Home mat. And I mean, I get it. It doesn't really go with a key set. It's just kind of a plain Jane one. It's brown. Some people don't like brown. Where Waves, if you're voting for the key set, then you're voting for, that colorway, and people spoke. That's really why I like this entire tournament so much, is because it's voted by the people. These are, it's not every single person in the community, but this is what the majority of people, especially in the Instagram community, that's what they're thinking. So it's a good way to kind of get a hold on what people like and what people dislike.
Yeah, and absolutely. And next up, I mean, I want to get to one that really, really surprised me. Not that it necessarily won, but one that it was so convincing. And that's going to be the Dots Horizontal versus Dracula Eye. So the Dracula Eye desk mat is something that's very, like, it's kind of plain. It's what we talked about last week, where we talked about the things repeating over and over again on a desk mat, and it looks nice. It's aesthetically pleasing. Mm-hmm. Whereas the Dots Horizontal kind of fits in that same boat, but Dots is, I feel like, even more basic. Like there's not really design there. It's just colors and dots.
Yep. It's subtle. It's minimalistic. I think people do tend to kind of vote for minimalistic because you don't want something super duper busy. There are definitely people that like a super busy desk mat, but I think at the end of the day, people are going to go for a more minimalistic look. And that's why you're going to look at a lot of these and go, oh, I really like that. Well, if it wasn't super duper minimal, I don't think it's going to win.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And this one, I mean, Dots desk mats came out to play.
Oh, yeah.
This week.
Oh, yeah.
Dots Diagonal won by a margin of 1,024 votes. And then Dots Horizontal beat Dracula Eye by 1385. And I think I'm a little bit more surprised about the Dracula one because Dracula itself was such a prominent set in the community. It's a set that was, I think it's ranked 3 in the overall key sets, which means it sold the third most. It might even be second, but it's one of the top 4 key sets in terms of overall sales this past year. So for that desk mat to get completely and utterly
dominated,
there it is.
It really made it interesting for me because I definitely had Dracula Eye going very far in my bracket, and that destroyed mine.
Yeah, some other, just some last bit notable, a big just domination. Saw this one coming. Metropolis. Metropolis is going to go far. We know this. This was a huge selling point for this set, and this entire Metropolis we talked about last week is selling an entire set, selling a set with caps and the desk mat and the cables and all of that, and going with this full aesthetic. And it's once again, it's minimalistic. It's just lines that kind of curve, and it's got some nice colors on it. But that's going to be one that I know is going to go far. That had a huge victory over Umbra at 75%. So, I mean, 3/4 of the people voted for what we kind of assumed what was going to happen, which was that this desk mat was just going to, it's probably going to win by a lot well into the next round and maybe even the next 2 rounds.
Count it.
Yeah, I think it will. I think it'll be one of those desk mats that will really kind of go over well. Another one that was kind of, I think, shocking for a lot of people was the fact that the Olivia Dark desk mat did not win. I definitely was not expecting that. It's actually, I believe, yeah, looking at it here, the percentages, It is the closest matchup in all of the desk mats except for one. Sorry, I was looking at it. So the closest overall is Terra Gold versus the Thok desk mat. And that was a margin of victory by 101 votes, whereas the Olivia ++ Dark to Great Wave Light was 107 votes. So I think those two, probably more so the Olivia, really messed up people's brackets there, because I think a lot of people put faith in the Olivia set as well as the desk mats to kind of go far in this competition. Yeah, what did you think about that one, Chu?
Yeah, it was, I think people like Thok, Terra Gold, Look, I was thinking Thok and Terra. I was looking at the wrong one because that was the other very, very close matchup. My apologies. I think once again, it goes down to design. It goes down to to me, it goes down to what I would consider a harsh design, and not harsh as in a bad thing, but just it's for a particular person. We'll get into that later about that kind of harsh design, but it's kind of the plain Jane versus the going for something a little more artistic. And some people don't like artistic, and that's, it was a shock, but people voted. So I'm glad to see that there is some excitement in the desk mats, because I was worried that the desk mats would be, well, okay, we're just going to kind of vote for keycap sets. Clearly not the case here.
Would you say that it is?
Silencing all the critics.
Yes, but I'm going to go ahead and say that one is the most silence is coming up soon of what board, of some boards and stuff. But do we want to go for boards or keycaps next?
I really think that boards probably has the most spice.
Yes.
But before we get into boards, I think we go keycaps and then boards. We save boards for last. But before we get into key sets, I want to talk about the fact that the perfect bracket, right? So the perfect bracket, day one, we started with, in desk mat specifically, we started with 134 perfect brackets. That dropped all the way down to 19 on the second day. The third day dropped to a single bracket was perfect. And as of today, there are no more perfect desk mat brackets. That means it is a toss-up in the desk mat world. You can get them wrong. It doesn't matter. And you can still win.
Yeah, you just have the ones that you got right, you have to work about. And that's something, Osiris brought this up, is potential points. So when you're looking into your brackets on the website, you're going to see where it says potential points. That means that is the maximum number of points you are able to obtain if you go perfect from here on out. And that number just gets lower every single time you have a wrong pick. But once again, we've talked about, you can go 50-50 on the first one, but if all your picks go deep, it doesn't matter anymore, because your potential points you're still gaining a lot of potential points, where you could have a situation where your biggest threat could be in the top 8, and then in the top 4, they might not have the ability to even get more points. So very interested to see how a lot of these early rounds and the early front runners of the brackets compare to about 3 rounds from now. So let's see. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's an interesting. You got to look at your potential score, because that's what matters. It doesn't matter where you're ranked right now. We're halfway through the first round. A little over halfway, so you still got some time on that first round. These are the points that matter the least. When it starts getting further and further in, you're going to get more points per correct answer. You're going to get more of an opportunity to kind of make up some ground on those people that are in front of you. So if your desk mat bracket has gone to utter crap this week because of a couple of things, you could still win. So don't feel like you're a loser just yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
Let's get into key sets. Not lots, but a decent amount of heat happening here in the key set bracket. One thing I noticed, and this was an interesting thought that I had, we talked a lot about last week about pictures, right? Mm-hmm. We talked a lot about how they would look, how they would affect the actual matchups. One thing that I noticed here, and I believe this is so the sheet that we're looking at is done correctly as to what was on top and what was on bottom. Almost all of the top set won, which means the top set is the set that sold more.
Yes.
So almost all of the sets, except for 2 that sold more keycap sets throughout the year, won. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good. Yeah.
I mean, that's what's supposed to happen in theory. That's what, we did have, we did have, or I guess it's still going on right now. I'm very excited to talk about the Shoko SA laser matchup, which is happening right now, but we can get more onto that later. We do have some that are able to, still upset potential, but right now for the time being, you're kind of seeing what it is. It's with key sets. When I was going through my personal bracket, it was something that I was like, all right, well, the first 2 rounds are kind of plain and simple, and then it gets exponentially harder, like extremely difficult to make some very tough decisions in that Sweet 16 round. And it only gets worse from there. That's how most brackets are going to be, especially when you seed it in a way that you do, where, you're going by sales. You're going by sales. In this situation, sales kind of equals popularity. You do have some outliers of sets like GMK, DMG. Didn't sell that much, but it's going to do well because you're able to, or like a set like DMG would be, the hype became huge after the fact. Yeah, Shoko, another one where the hype came after the fact. Yeah. So those are going to be your outliers, but I also see sets like those just getting knocked out in the round of 16, the Sweet 16.
Yeah, absolutely. So in getting in, and we're gonna kind of circle through everything, and then we're gonna go back through and give our kind of matchups of the week and our kind of what we could be potential upsets throughout next week for each one after we get through all of the current matchups. So there are the current results. So one that I think kind of shocked a little bit of people, but was very close, was GMK Dual Shot and Analog Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
The Dual Shot is a set that I know both you and I, Chewy, love very much. It's a set that's very simple. It's very clean. It looks great. Granted, a lot of these are just based off of renders. We're talking about renders and stuff for these. There are very few of these that are actually out in the wild. But this set, Dual Shot, it's a safer set. Looks clean. Going to look great on a board. And Analog Dreams is a set that's a little bit... I'm surprised, honestly, that it did not win, just for the sheer fact that it is a little bit more aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, it's got the colors, it's got the fancier colors, it's a little more like, it pops a little bit more. Whereas Dual Shot, it's a little basic. It's just lots of grays and different grays, and you do have a little bit of color sprinkled in there. But that could also go down to the fact that Dual Shot just ran. You have that kind of has an effect on a lot of things. If a set hasn't run in a long time, and nothing's really shown up from it, there's not going to be a lot of hype around it. People are, in this community, it's moving very, very fast. And so a set like Dual Shot that ran within the last 3 months, still, you kind of have some trickle down hype is what I'll call it.
Yeah, you have some hype there with that. And then you also have hype on the opposite end of if it's something that has just shown up, right? Like if it's something that is just shipped to people, just received it, they're going to be more hype on it. Thinking of like there was a couple examples. I believe it's more in boards that people are a little bit more hyped about. But say for instance like GMK Olive. That's a set that is shipped in the last month. SA Bliss people are hyped about because it's coming out soon.
Dots is shipping right now.
Yeah, specifically,
Dots. Dots could hit at the perfect time. Yeah. And make a huge impact on this entire tournament. If Dots hits the United States and gets shipped out in a timely manner, which I'm sure it will, people might open Dots and it's going to hit Reddit. It's going to hit Instagram. People are going to start seeing more and more Dots, and now everybody likes Dots. And then next time you see it, you go, "Hey, I've just been shoved GMK Dots in my face for the last 30 minutes on Instagram. Now I'm just going to go vote for Dots." So I could see Dots actually having some upset potential against other sets.
True,
because of the hype.
Yeah, because it just showed up and it's there. It could,
Stunned.
People.
It could. It absolutely could. The one set we'll talk about it when there's not really much to say. I believe this was the biggest blowout, the biggest just knockdown, punch your teeth out. GMK Olivia ++.
Not even close.
No. Like Langlandia said, not even close. We're going to 2,000 margin of victory. I don't think there's going to be a bigger win the entire tournament, in my opinion. That's 2,000 people in a different. That's 87. Where you got so close to it that I wanted to see the 90%.
Yeah, I think it was close to 90. First matchup of the day for key sets, first matchup of the tournament for key sets. So it's funny when you look at it, you know, it wasn't even near the peak of voting either, and it still won 2408 to 348.
I want to meet those 348 people. Those are the people that are the anarchists that, you know, they're only there to watch the world burn. And I love that. I think, you know, not that, you know, I like that you don't get to see the percentages before you hop on to make the vote. And so obviously, you know, the anarchist in me would love to just only vote against it. But I also am like, every single vote counts. And what happens if I was the reason I ruined my own bracket?
Yeah. And I've noticed that there was a couple that I voted against myself on, not as much on key sets, but specifically on desk mats. But for this one, I feel like a lot of people just were like, it opened up on their phone. They clicked that Dixie story on Instagram and they saw Olivia versus SA128K AI. I'm sure almost a good percentage, probably we'll say maybe half of them, looked at that SA128K AI and said, I don't even know what this is.
Oh yeah.
And just were like, Olivia.
I want to know how many people voted for SA128K on accident.
Yeah,
because you could legitimately say that somebody, you know, we've done the pre-rounds. They did a couple tester votings. So, you know, just to kind of get in the flow of which arrow to select, it wouldn't even surprise me if there was about 50 people because that was one of the first things to vote on, one of the first competitions to vote on, how many people accidentally chose it. So they could have even been bigger. Would have been crazy.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, Lord K voted for SA.
Lord K said he voted for SA128K AI. I think it's funny too because it got 348 votes. There's no way it sold 348 kits. It might have sold 348
caps.
Kits exploded, you know, because you have with SA you have a lot of different base kits. A lot of times your alphas are separated from your mods. You might have a couple different mod choices, a couple different alpha choices, tons of different things going on. And yeah, I think Olivia is definitely a solid winner. It's the reigning, Olivia was the reigning champion last year. Olivia adds the dark component, still the great set. Changed it up a little bit, but maintained that beauty. So I think it's going to continue to perform some
total domination.
There it is. So, do we want to go into what we considered to be the matchup of the week?
Match of the week.
There it is. I like it.
It was definitely something that we had coined match of the week. It was something that we were both really excited about. We were interested to see how the community react. You take a polarizing set, something that's not anywhere near the norm in GMK waves, and put it against something that's very basic, the least. It's a safe set. The only thing that's crazy about EPBT Kuroshiro is the fact that it's 1 EPBT and 2 as sub-legends. Other than that, it's going to please about 95% of the community. Most people are going to be okay with having that in their arsenal or on a board somewhere. EPBT Kuroshiro pulls out the victory. How does that make you feel, Chewy?
Yeah, it was not. I mean, it was still a close victory. We're still in the still in that 20% range. It was at 57% over 43%. So you're still kind of in that close range with a margin of victory of only 420. So, but you know, the people spoke. Green is a polarizing color, especially kind of a lightning electric green. So honestly, I think I could see a lot of people voting against that color green as opposed to voting for EPBT Kuroshiro. So I can see, you know, you do kind of get into this concept of like, all right, well, now are you voting for this, or are you just voting against it? Do you not care about the other one, but you know you don't like that one? So that I could see how Waves could have kind of fallen into that trap of like, I don't really care what beat it, I just don't want Waves to win. And so I think Waves sadly was the first to fall to that. It
was definitely the first to fall to the fact that it was polarizing versus a very safe, very normal set in Kuroshiro. 420 votes was what disparity was between the two. It's one of the closer matchups in the keycap set bracket, but I was surprised. I had Waves going a little bit further. Waves is a set that sold significantly more than Kuroshiro when group buy, and it didn't. It is the only GMK set to lose to something that was not also GMK. Everything else that is, except, well, there's one other,
but you know, it's GMK. You just can't go wrong.
They do say that sometimes.
You know, it's like I always say, the best offense is a great GMK.
Wise words.
Absolutely. Next set I want to talk about was the closest matchup with only 123 vote margin of victory. We're going to have MT3 Serica over Skidata. This was another, I think this was, you know, this is the other one where it's like, oh, okay, we're voting against GMK. And I think this is, and it's not going to be a pure against GMK because Serica is based off of, Serica started as GMK.
That's the thing, is you go from GMK Serica. I'm actually surprised that MT3 Serica didn't take this more handedly, just because of the fact that MT3 Serica has that background with the GMK Serica. It was one of those sets that early last year was selling for insane amounts on Mech Market. MT3 Serica had a lot of hype. I know it's still in the process of being delivered, but
I mean, it surprised me a little bit, but I also think that Skidata's wasn't very, you know, you're taking, it was close, and the fact that it's kind of like GMK versus MT3, the fact that it was that close just kind of says a lot more about Serica than it does about Skidata. Skidata was not a very hype set, not a lot. It wasn't really this huge blowout sale or anything like that. It did fine, but it's a very basic colorway. Orange is a polarizing color. So you're just not going to see orange really kind of just utterly dominate a lot of different things. And, you know, like we said, it's Serica. You have the hype from Serica.
Yeah.
You have, and then you just have people, and once again, you're voting against orange. You just, I don't like Skidata, so I'm not going to vote for it.
Yeah, and Skidata is a set that ran fairly early last year. It ran on the Key Company. Did well enough to hit MOQ, and other than that, it didn't really go crazy. Serica did really, really well because it did have that hype. But yeah, that was one of the more surprising ones for me of how close it was. Not necessarily that it was an upset or anything like that. I didn't think it would be the closest matchup out of all of these matchups that we got in the first week. So let's talk about some other ones. Some that I know I think we both definitely picked this one correctly, but we both have to say that it is definitely an upset. And that's GMK Alter versus GMK Peaches and Cream.
I'm happy. So I actually think that I picked Alter.
Did you really?
I believe I did, because I didn't think people would vote. I don't have either of them really going that far, but I am happy to see it. Peaches and Cream. It's a set that I'm in on, a set that I'm very excited about. It was one of those sets. The second I saw it, I was like, I'm buying it. I'm getting that the second it comes out. So, definitely got in on the group buy, excited to see that it beat Alter. I think that's another one that you can kind of say, well, the pictures did it justice. Some of those pictures look beautiful.
Yeah.
They put it on a nice whiteboard that was very bright, and it's very colorful. It's very contrasting, where Alter, very dark.
Yeah. And I think especially because when you're talking about a set like Alter, right, versus Peaches and Cream, Alter it is pretty, it looks great, but when you're talking about the actual, just looking at a straight render versus something else, you lose the nostalgia of the actual theme of the set, right? And so you're not maybe attached to it as much as you are for with the I'm lost my train of thought. Sorry. Maybe think about this.
No, there it is. One more time. I was laughing over it. There it is. Hey, it's perfect. We got one more time.
Yep.
There it is. So we got there. But yeah, two solid sets. I don't foresee them lasting very, very long or by any means.
Yeah, no.
But it was fun to see, and that's another one that I think we'll talk. Like I said, we'll talk a little bit more here in just a little bit about pictures when it comes to keyboards.
Come on.
Exactly. Come on, though. Pictures can do quite a bit. Pictures can make it more aesthetically pleasing to look at, and it makes you want to vote for it. So, but good to see. And kind of one of the last ones I did want to see that was, I guess, a little bit closer than I thought. Bingsu versus DSA Magic Girl. Still a bit of you're getting into that, like it was a handed defeat.
Yeah, mid-60s.
But I was expecting blowout.
You were expecting blowout? I was expecting blowout, but I think this is still somewhat close. It's almost 700 votes. Low percentage, 62 to almost 63%. In favor of Bingsu. I love Bingsu. We both like Bingsu a lot. I think it's a great looking set. Yeah, Magic Girl, I think it's one of the few DSA sets that is in the competition. I know DSA Scientific also won against the Katakana and Finicky sets. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Bingsu, I was expecting it to be a little bit closer to maybe like what happened with Olive level. Mm-hmm. But it kind of, it's still one-handedly, and I think Bingsu there's a lot of people who have Bingsu going very far in this.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fantastic set. I think it's going to be one of those sets that upon shipping, people are going to be really upset that they did not get it.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a set that it's going to be a regret set.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I think that'll wrap it up, at least for these results. You can check your brackets, see how well you're doing, see how well you are not doing. I think we don't have that many perfect sets, so I guess we can check real quick
so looking at perfect key sets. So this is actually the only one that has anyone left, right? So you've got perfect sets. You've got 7 perfect brackets left in the key sets. Started with by far the most perfect brackets after day one. No surprise there in terms of having, when you're basing it off of final sales for the kits, it makes it a little bit easier to select it because okay, Olivia's going to beat this set that was literally like one of the least selling sets in the competition. No shade to any sets that are in the competition. But just how they were ranked makes them, hey, this one sold more than this one sold more than that one. But 321 all the way down to 89 day 2. And then that one cut down a little bit to 27, then cut that a little bit more than half into 12. And then now we are cutting that almost in half again down to 7.
It's, the people vote. And it is hard to pick that many correct answers, especially when you have the Waves Kuroshiro matchups, that was the tough one for people to decide on regardless. People thought, I think that Waves was kind of a key set bracket breaker, if you will. So I'm very interested to see who continues to stay with that perfect bracket. But I honestly, I don't know if anybody's going home with the polycarbonate Bauer that's at stake.
There's 7 people left. Hopefully one person will win. It'd be hilarious if 2 people had the exact same bracket, but I think like my one eye says Peaches and Cream versus Alter broke a lot of people. I think that did. I think Waves did. Kuroshiro did. But
the bracket's not over.
It's not over. You still have the score potential. Focus on your score potential, boys and girls. That is going to be what carries you to the end. That's going to be how you win. I know Chewy and myself, we are actually tied on key sets right now, but he's in the lead because his score potential is your score potential is 7 higher than mine.
Yep.
Because I had Waves going to the second round and you didn't.
Yep.
So
that's all it takes. That's all it takes.
It happens.
So before we get into keyboards, which I know a lot of people are excited to talk about, we're going to shout out the sponsors of Mech Madness, Key Cult, Linus Tech Tips, and Salvin for providing lots of awesome I keep wanting to say victories, but not rewards. I really think it should be considered. They are, you can win these awesome prizes, but really they're rewards. You put in the effort, at least through clicking a bunch of times to get that. So shout out to those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we have, I don't have this up over here.
No, that's all good. TGR, Dixie Mech, obviously, and the Key Dot Company. So, big shout outs to those folk. Prime KB, Pimp My Keyboards, and Canon Keys, doing some awesome stuff for the giveaways. Drop, Rama, and Zap, Novel Keys, Tight Beast, Project Keyboards, Unikey, Mr. Nathan Kim, the Teja types himself, as well as we helped a little bit on putting on this show, just a smidge.
This is happening here.
it's right here. Look at that.
Yeah, look at that.
Right there.
Look at all those sponsors. Yeah, thank you to everyone. Thank you all the sponsors. Thank you to everyone who's involved. And thank y'all all for coming out and hanging out with us. Because like we said, we're doing this every week. So we appreciate y'all stopping by. Join us on Discord if you have any suggestions, any questions about the show, and you want to maybe have an idea for how we can do this better each week. Let us know. We want to know. We made some changes.
We don't have a lot of time to change this show, so we got a lot of good constructive criticism. Yeah. Last week we want more.
Yeah, we like to
get a list. I love it.
Got a list.
So let's get into the spice.
The big one.
The bracket breakers. Exactly.
Yeah, that one. I think this is the most disappointing to a lot of people. This is the most variance. There's some of the absolute closest matchups in the entire tournament happen in keyboards. And I think this is one, it's hard. It's not like key sets. We couldn't make the actual matchups based on what sold and what, maybe sat for a little bit longer. Because, something like a Jane V2 CE that sells out in 15 seconds versus a board that was an open buy, it's not really going to be necessarily a fair matchup if you try to base it off of the way things sold. So these are just kind of up against each other. Some things that maybe were similar to each other were against each other, and some things that were extremely different went up against each other. And there was a lot of fire in this. A lot of changes.
Variance, if you will.
A lot of variance.
Do we get into it?
Let's get into it. I don't know if do we go full fire first?
Let's go full fire. The people want what they want. Forged Carbon 65 in the closest matchup that we've seen, and the closest that we will probably see until the top 4, maybe not. Even then, the closest margin of victory, 85-point swing. The Kepler FC65 is no longer in the tournament.
So it's funny because that's a board that we talked about in detail last week. We talked about how we both had thought that that board was going to go far. And in looking at some other brackets within the community, looking at other, prominent members, talking to them, a lot of them had the Forged Carbon 65. Funny enough, Quakums from Top Clack was like, why would you ever think that that's going to win? People love duck boards. He picked the duck board. So it lost to the Duck Octagon V3. So that, 85 votes. Ruin my bracket. Ruin your bracket, kind of.
Yeah,
more or less.
It's more or less. Ruined yours just a smidge more.
Yeah, I had mine. I
have a hard time voting for 65%.
I had the FC65 go all the way to, I believe, the Elite 8. So
yeah, and this is once again, this was the most fun situation because just seeing the reaction, seeing we're talking about a board that's not out yet. A couple, there's some prototypes floating around, but this is a board that's not out yet. I don't see this happening if this board is released in the last 4 months. I think the hype around it would just be too much at this moment in time. But there's not many out right now. So, and like Mr. Quakums on Top Clack said, people like Duck. It's a familiar name. It's a household name in the households that care about mechanical keyboards. Yeah. So, it is what it is. I'm okay that a 65% fell.
I just wish it wasn't to the Duck Octagon V3.
The Duck that board as a meme might even make it further and break some more brackets.
It could. And getting into another one that I thought was a definite spicy upset, in my opinion, that's going to be the M65B losing to the Matrix 1.20G.
I'm going to say called it.
You called it. I think that was one that was going to be very close, but I thought that the 65% and the Rama name would really pull that one through.
Yeah, and if you look at it, all roads kind of lead to the idea that the Rama would win. But to me, I was picking, whenever I was looking at that, I was like, we've seen the Rama M65. The B is not super different. It's not aesthetically this huge change. And people like kind of plain and simple. They know, Matrix is starting to become a name where it's like kind of associated with us higher end, like a Lin Whale or or like TGR and stuff like that, where these hype boards are great. And then on top of that, when you throw it in and, any board that has a more familiar layout to anybody else, some people might not like 65%. Some people might just really, really, really hate 65%. It might just vote against it because they think it's we're gonna
cut away from him. By the way, I do enjoy 65%. So just putting that out there. He hates them, not me. I enjoy them. In fact, I have quite a few that I'm planning on getting here soon. So, but no, I think what B-Lock says in the chat is perfect. Is a perfect explanation of what happened here. Even though both of these boards are slight variations of something that already existed, the 1.20G has a lot more hype behind it. Whereas the M65B, I think, was a lot of people just saying, meh, it's kind of the same. It's kind of the same. Didn't have great color options. Cool, you made the iced version, polycarbonate. Cool. You didn't offer some of your coolest colors. I think if they would have offered better colors for that, I think it would have had more hype behind it. They would have changed up more of the board. It would have been a better.
I mean, it was
received
it was a
board.
stagnant re-release.
Yeah,
It was a paint job. You know, it was just something. So not super different. So I was happy to see that I made the right call on that one. That was kind of one of the ones I was worried about. But moving to this next one, the Equinox beating the Austin. This is what we've been talking about for the show. The Austin had a troubling picture.
Chewy, that is
Cold-blooded.
Yeah, it was rough. It was the Austin. I own an Austin.
You do.
I own an Austin. I think it's a fantastic board. I think that there are pictures that do it way more justice, and I think that unfortunately, I didn't have either of those boards. That board's would be meeting the HBCP next round anyway, so I didn't see that board really going past the next round. But pictures mean a lot.
They do.
Pictures mean a whole lot, and if you pick one that may not show off exactly what you want to show off, or it doesn't have the greatest lighting, you're not going. People will be turned away from it because you have to expect. I'd say 30% of people had not even seen some of these boards.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is when you look at the two, you're talking about. It's funny the way the matchup came out because you're talking about one of the largest, if not the largest board in the competition against what I think might be the actual smallest board in the competition. So it's one of those things when you don't know what either of these boards are, when you're looking at it from face value. The picture that was chosen for the Austin, we talked to our buddy Drifting Bunnies, the designer. It was kind of a collective decision between all the people involved. And, I think looking back, maybe they would have selected something a little bit different. But man, that Equinox, if you don't know what the two are, when you look at both of them, the Equinox is way cuter. It's way cuter.
Way cuter.
The cute factor won.
So, it's sad to see the Austin lose. Like I said, I don't see it pass. I don't think the Equinox has really a chance against the HBCP. I think the Heinebusch Compact is going to blow away the Equinox. The HBCP has so much hype around it right now. Lots of people are just starting to get in on it. And, once again, pictures matter.
You do. You're getting crap for
I'm aware.
Pictures mean a lot.
Pictures mean a lot.
They do mean a lot.
They do mean a lot.
The whole thing is about pictures.
Pictures mean a lot.
Speaking of pictures, can we talk about, well, it's not necessarily because of pictures, but talk about something that was surprisingly close. Something that no one, I think, really saw coming. People would have thought that it was going to be a intense and utter, complete
Total domination.
But it wasn't. And that's going to be the Jane V2 CE versus the Theo 60. Very close. Very close.
You're looking at layouts at that point.
Yeah.
You're looking at layouts. I think 60% is a very well loved layout. I think I've had the theory and the thought of like, well, 60% are loved because they're usually the cheapest. And so why would, the people that are like, oh, I want to get on the board. What's a good inexpensive board? Well, this 60% is, oh, well, now I love 60% because that's the only thing I've ever used outside of, membrane keyboards that are full sized. So that was one that, I was shocked a little bit. And then going back and thinking, I was like, a 60% is probably going to be the one that takes down these Key Colts and these Janes, because people are going to start kind of going for I'm going to vote for what I like. And what I like is a 60%, because you start getting that bias of, I like small boards now. I don't need, I've been using a 60% for 4 months. I could never see myself going back to a bigger board. So I want to see some of these hype boards, some of the boards that made it really far last year. I want to see them get knocked out early.
You want to see some brands that were...
I want to see some Key Colt and some TGR just
get knocked out. Just
kicked
out
to
of
the
here.
curb. Just bye. Nothing against them. I want the anarchy.
Big gulps, huh? Well,
see you later. Peace out.
No, and then another one that I thought was a close matchup. one of the closer ones in keyboards, and that is the thermal versus the U80A. I think there's probably some people who are pretty surprised that the thermal did not win. There's a delta of about 193 votes between the two. The U80A, they did what I wanted them to do. They picked a picture of the port color. I think
it's
widely loved, the nicest color of the. Did
they release
board.
White? I don't know if they released.
They did release white, but the white didn't look as good.
Yeah, it didn't look as unique.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
We don't see a lot of port wine boards now. We're seeing more and more, but it definitely had that uniqueness factor.
Yeah, and so I think that helped it. Thermal. It's a cool board. It's very unique. It's a very different board. But man,
we talked about it last week. It's a harsh design, and that's when like I said just earlier today. Harsh does not mean bad. It just means that you were trying to make something that someone. Yep, there it is, Mr. Wilba himself. It's one that people are going to love it or hate it. There's not a whole lot of in between when going, for that kind of ventilation on the side. I personally do kind of like it, but when I think it beats a lot of other boards on this list. I don't think it beats the U80. I think the U80 was just unfortunately the perfect matchup for it to go in and lose in the first round.
Yeah, I think so. And it sucks because I love the thermal. They did a great job with making it very different, very unique. But it definitely, it's not just your standard rectangle.
No, it's a fun take on going, how can I make this rectangle just a smidge more defined and different from everybody else? Yeah. And they did a great job on it. It got hit to the curb. Sorry, you're going to be sitting on the sidelines for the next 5 rounds.
And then I want to talk about one that's, I know it's very close to your heart, Chewy. One that I don't think you're not surprised by it losing, but I think there was probably some hope there for you that the Fiel round 4 was going to pull it out and was going to win against the Chimera.
I was torn because I thought that I was like, oh, we have a chance. There's a chance of winning. It was very, very close. It's one of the closest. It's one of the closest matchups that we had in the keyboard bracket. But, I picked the Chimera to win. I think it had more uniqueness to it. 65%, very hot right now. And unfortunately, but the Fiel, we talked about it's basic. It doesn't, it's the working man's keyboard. It's not doing anything. It's not popping off of a desk. You just kind of look at it and go, ooh, that's nice. But the Chimera definitely, it's got all those accent pieces, and it's bright and flashy, and people like 65%. And so end of the day, I was like, that's probably going to win. And I didn't expect it. I thought it would be sort of close. I was expecting 55 to 60%, not 52% to 48.
Yeah. It's other than the Octagon FC65, which we already kind of covered, it's the closest matchup. 145 votes. Lynn Montage versus Bach. Another one. The Bach. How does the Bach beat the Lynn Montage? I don't know. I don't even want to talk about it because I'm upset about that one.
The people have spoken. Uniqueness,
I guess.
Uniqueness
didn't even show. The Bach didn't even show the whole board. It was like 3 rows. So
yeah, that was another fun one that I remember seeing. And the next one that I was worried about, but it wound up going the right way. The Sirius beat the TMO 50 V2. I know this is one that you were super happy about. There was a lot of doubt going into this. The TMO is a very hyped board for a lot of people. A lot of people that were not into smaller than 60% form factors, and it unfortunately stood no chance.
Yeah. I think in talking more with with more people about the TM050 versus the Sirius. I think I kind of understand why the Sirius was going to win and had a lot more opportunity to win versus the TM050. I think if it was Sirius versus TM050 V1, no shot. TM050 V1 wins hands down. I think there's a lot of people who are maybe upset about some of the changes that were made in the V2, and that swayed people a lot. Also, Sirius, very hype. My board of the year for 2019, as far as like one that I actually got in hand, got to try. I absolutely love that board. I use it every single day, both with linears and tactile switches. I don't necessarily see it going much further than this in the tournament. I think I don't know who it's matched up. Let me look here. E7 V1. That's another one we'll get into after this, because I was surprised about that, about the E7 V2. But yeah, Sirius winning. I'm happy. I voted for it. Didn't pick it, but I voted for it. So yeah, there's that. It was a good one. I was happy to see it. It did make me smile inside.
Congrats to the Sirius, because I think your reign is officially over next week.
159, we sure do love you. Everyone over Project Keyboard, great job. I was definitely
Stunned.
And speaking of,
Stunned.
the E7 V2 destroying the J80.
Dominated.
Just total domination. It was rough. I've built a J80. I've not built you've built the E7 V2.
I have.
So both great boards, both solid boards. I thought the J80 had more hype right now.
Me too. I thought there's two things about the J80 that I thought was going to happen. So I thought the J80 was going to win because it has a lot of hype. A lot of people are really, really loving that board right now. But I also thought it would win based on the fact that it's one of the few boards that's in the competition that has that old school vintage style look. I thought a lot of people on Instagram would like that, that styling. But I think, the RGBs, the beauty of the 75%, it is a prettier board overall, the E7 V2.
It pops more.
It pops more. I think overall that one definitely looks more aesthetically pleasing.
I didn't think that it would exactly lose or win. I didn't think that the J80 was going to, I don't remember exactly what I picked. I didn't think that the J80 was going to win or even more like dominate or anything. I definitely saw this kind of going either way. Did not expect a blowout.
Dude, yeah, it was
not even close.
Yeah. Langlandia, appreciate you, bud.
So,
you're right on the dot there. 72.37%. Wow.
Going through the rest of these, I'm just kind of looking around. The number one Rev 1 beating the Cypher. That was one that I could have seen being an upset, not even close. And just it's Geek Cult.
Yeah, and I think one thing that surprises me, the biggest variance and the most complete utter
total domination.
The Think 6.5 versus the Timberwolf.
Yeah, 16,000.
Not 16,000. 1,600.
Sorry, 16,000. 16,000.
I wish there were 16,000 people voting. That'd be awesome.
1,600 margin of victory. The Think 6.5. It got the Timberwolf is a very unique board. And
it's like, hey, here's some keys.
Here's a
75% layout and some other stuff.
And so I think people looked at that and go, what on earth were they thinking? I kind of like it. The issue that you run into with that board is you are limited on exactly what keycaps you can use and where you want to put them. But so I thought, I never saw that winning.
No,
I never saw that winning, but it just absolutely destroyed it. The Think 6.5, super hot board right now, as well, and a lot of people are loving it.
Yeah, and I think it has a lot of hype. It's been built a ton on streams. It's got a lot of press. It was very well talked about when it came out. It was very hyped up when it was in group buy. So I know people really love their Think 6.5 because it's a very versatile board. Polycarbonate versions, they have the aluminum versions, and I think they even have some brass ones. Those
there's some floating around.
So black polycarbonate boards, which is a little bit unique. So yeah, definitely one that really just completely demolished the competition there. So not 100% surprised at how much it did. I think there's a lot of people who were looking at the Timberwolf and were like, what is this thing?
What is this?
Like, I know Langlandia just said in chat, he didn't even know that the Timberwolf actually ran. There's a lot of people who have that same sentiment.
Yeah, I honestly, I had no, I didn't think it ever got out of interest check.
Yep.
So why don't we move on over? We're going to go back to desk mats. Let's look at some matchups, some key matchups coming up.
Would you say they are
Match of the week?
We'll find out which one the match of the week is. So just kind of brushing through Alter versus 8008. Definitely going to be a tough one. Bingsu Stripe versus Skull. I think that's going to be a very, very close one as well. But I think I have my matchup of the week. I'll see if you can guess which one it is.
Ooh. I don't know. I think, man, I'm looking at this again. These are matchups for the second round, by the way, that we're talking about here. I think if you go Eternal versus Waves, I think might be spicy. But I don't know, man. I want to say one of these ones with Dots, but I think Dots is just going to come out and just completely demolish everyone again.
I think Peaches and Cream Peach.
Really?
It's got a lot of meme potential.
The memes can be dreams.
Spicy memes. I think while Dots is fantastic, it is the diagonal one.
Okay.
So there, it's not the most. It's that the dots going up in kind of an angle does kind of, like if you put dots versus dots, horizontal versus diagonal, which I hope we get to see, I think people go with horizontal, and people like the Peaches and Cream desk mats. I think not going to go into too much detail as to why. You can figure that one out yourself, but I see that's to me probably my matchup of the week. Yeah, that's my
match of the week.
Boom. For desk mats.
Got there. Do you think that one will be
not even close?
I think it's going to be very close.
Think so?
I think it'll be close.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with you there. I think the Peach desk mat is beautiful. But yeah, Dots, I don't know. Dots, it's got the recency bias. It's got the recency hype to it. I think a lot of people are going to look down at their desk and see a Dots desk mat, and they might be like, I won't pick the one I own. So, who knows? We'll see. Moving on. Key
set matchups.
Yeah, we got a couple more here. I think there's going to be some interesting ones here because we have two matchups that don't involve GMK. So it's slowly becoming just a full-on GMK Mech Madness.
Yep.
Like, we've got Cat Milkshake versus Cat Eternal. I think that's going to be somewhat close. Mm-hmm. I think that Milkshake will win. You have Cat Eternal winning.
I think people like the staggers. So
yeah, I think so. And
I don't think those are going to be quite matchup of the week. I've got mine. I'm torn on mine.
On yours,
I've got two.
You've got two. I've got mine. So mine, actually, no, I've got two too.
It's probably the same.
So my first one, I'll go with GMK Minimal versus GMK Bingsu.
Yep, and the next one being GMK Olive versus SA Bliss. Yep, there it is. Boom.
Got there.
It's those two extremely hype sets, sold very, very well. Bingsu, a very muted, that kind of purpley, like maroon. It does a lot, mixes well with a lot of boards that are going to be coming out that a lot of people are excited to get their hands on. to match Ming Su versus Minimal, which guess what? It's Minimal. And people like Minimal. It's a black on white key set. Fantastic. That's going to be a tough matchup. That's going to be a tough matchup for me to even vote. I believe I picked Minimal going through because it's Minimal.
I do have Minimal as well. And I think it's, it's going to be a...
Yeah, we got a real barn burner.
Yeah.
Real barn burner.
Real barn. We're going to burn down those barns.
I think Olive Bliss is interesting. We'll see. I think it's going to be one of those things. Is GMK going to be enough to get Olive through? Or will Bliss take the cake?
I think, personally, Olive wins because it's out.
Because it's out? Because of the recency bias?
It's out. Recency bias. It's out. People can buy it. People can touch it. And they're not just looking at pictures anymore. SA Bliss had a few delays recently.
So for good reasons.
For good reasons. This isn't a bad thing, but people will still see delays as a bad thing because then they no longer can get what they want any sooner. They have to wait even more. So you're having a lot of like, now I don't know if I like it. You're mad at one thing. If you bought both of those, you're probably happier that you got Olive.
There is something to be said about being able to look down and see, you got your Instagram on your phone. You see GMK Olivia versus SA Bliss. And then you take a peek on over at your board and you Olive. Sorry. GMK Olive there. They're very close in name, all right?
I wanted it to be Olivia, but she didn't go for it.
Yeah. Well, close enough. But you look down at your board, you see Olive, and you're like, man, this is really pretty. And you're not seeing SA Bliss, so maybe you pick Olive. Who knows? I think I'm going to take Olive to win that one as well. I think it'll be very close. Yeah. I think that'll be very close. I think
you've got GMK and you've got actual production.
Yeah.
So
GMK
I think
actual production.
Those two are going to. So those are going to be our two matchups of the week, the ones that we will be keeping a close eye on. Moving over to keyboards.
Moving on over to the Keebs. This one's going to be interesting because I feel like there's going to be some weird ones that might be matchups of the week. I think there's going to be some people who might not really know necessarily how to pick.
I've got two on this as well.
You got two on this?
I've got two.
I think ours are going to be different.
All right. So my first one, I'm going to go ahead and say I've only got one.
Okay.
So my first one originally was going to be the number 1 versus the 1.2. It's going to be close, but I see TGR winning. Or sorry, I see a Keycolt winning. I see Keycolt pushing that name through. Okay. But something you can't argue with names is the U80 versus the M60. And that is my matchup of the tournament.
Really?
This week is there's no name. You've got a few different factors going. You've got, it's a TKL. People like TKLs. People have the M60 in their hands.
Very true.
There are more M60s. There are so many more M60s out in the wild than the U80. The U80 hasn't been tested and tried and true yet. I spent more on this matchup. I spent probably more time on this matchup than I did my entire key set bracket.
Yeah, I think that's a good one, but I feel like that might be a little bit of a cop-out answer in my opinion. So I'm going to be different. I'm going to say the Bach versus the Salamander. Because I think that's going to be one that people are going to look at those pictures, people are going to look at those names, and they're going to be like, what? Yeah. Like, there's going to be a lot of people who don't know what either of those boards are. The Bach was a really small buy. Salamander, very small buy, was a while ago, very early last year. So I think those two boards, neither of them have a ton of hype right now. Mm-hmm. I think Bach is still, it hasn't even shipped yet. Salamanders are out there. People enjoy them. Some people don't like them as much as they hoped they would. But I think it's still a really, really cool looking board. I know our buddy IMU or you has one that we both really like. with Alps Browns in it. They have PBT plates, which is unique. But I don't know. I think that one will be interesting. Another one about pictures.
Yep.
The other one is, do you think the Equinox has any chance against the HBCP?
No.
Not even.
Not
even like. What's your percentage? Is it like a 75-25?
70. I'm going to go like 77.
77?
I'm going to guess 77 and up.
Oof.
I think 77 to 33 is the absolute. Sorry, 23 is the absolute lowest. I think if anything, it'll be worse.
Do you think the ISO bias will help the Mithril against the Think 6.5? Or you think that's going to also be a? Because that's the only board so far that's been posted with ISO as the layout.
I don't think there's enough voting.
There's not. Okay.
I think Think 6.5.
I don't think so either.
I think Think 6.5 it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. And I think my pick, man, I don't know how many. I think that might be the biggest, like, variance. I think that's going to be the most dominating matchup. Is I think 6.5 versus the Mithril.
Mm-hmm. So. Well, that'll wrap up week 1.
Well, we gotta look at something. We gotta see where we're at.
Where we're at. Yeah, that'll wrap up what has happened when it comes to everybody else. We are doing a little, not more just bragging rights.
Yeah.
Within the people sponsored by Dixie Mech. So let's put it on back there.
Let's take a gander at this. So this is everyone that we got. Now this isn't all of the people that are involved that are sponsors or partners with Dixie. This is just the ones that we were able to get this week. Let's go. So Chewy and myself are on here. As you can see, we're doing pretty well.
Cannot complain.
Yeah, key set specifically, we are tied with Mr. Nathan Kim. As I said earlier, Chewy's actually ranked like 14 or something. So
I think I know what I'm talking about sometimes, and then I totally don't know what I'm talking about other times.
Yeah. And then we have for keyboards, Mech Merlin coming in hot. Mech Merlin and Tyson, but Merlin's leading the way. 18 correct votes there. And then you're winning those desk mats with a solid 15.
Hey, I'll take it. Yeah, I mean, I spent some decent time.
I'm just glad I'm not last.
There you go. You're not actually last. So,
the man who puts 6 desk mats on top of each other might own more desk mats than anyone else on these lists, except for maybe Dixie. That doesn't. But Mr. Teja types last.
Yeah, and not to Mr. Dixie's in the chat saying he's embarrassed, as you should be, because you clearly don't know how to pick a keyboard with only 11 correct. Sorry, Mr. Dixie.
Yeah.
You know what? Get good. That's all I gotta say. So, but I don't have much room to talk on keyboards. But I think we're doing all right. I think we can. I think if we can close out if we can close out key sets and desk mats,
dude.
Well, at least be able to look at everyone and go, we sort of know what we're talking about compared to 7 other people.
We're not doing hot in keyboards though.
Well, we got to make up some time.
We're not last though, so we're not last in anything. So I can appreciate that. But yeah, so we definitely appreciate y'all coming by, hanging out with us. Again, we are going to be live every Friday for the next month.
Yep. Yeah, so thank you very much. Thank you to our sponsor, Dixie Mech, for letting us do the show. If you can pick it up, show it off. This is the Bauer you will win. I believe it's the keycap. The keycap winner will get a Bauer with Salvoon brass caps, the Linus Tech Tip board on the back.
Nice and signed.
I'm sure if you look, you might even find a little ding from the time he slammed it against the table. Who knows?
you might be able to find it. It's a beautiful board. I typed on it for a little bit. Caps are very heavy, but yeah, you can definitely win.
Yeah,
you win that one. These are real, by the way. I don't know. I think people thought maybe this was like part of the green screen. This is real. This is like actual
tangible
items. I have this. I can type on this. You can't hear it but it's loud.
It's there.
It's there. But again, we're Mechs on Deck. I'm Osiris. This is Chewy. We really appreciate y'all coming by. If you liked what you saw, come back next week. We do stream every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. This week, I will be building on Tuesday night. I'm going to be building Sirius a little bit. I'm going to be doing some switch testing, more or less. And then we're going to be doing, talking about some stuff Monday night evening. We stream at 8 p.m. Central Time every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So come hang out with us. Again, we definitely appreciate all the follows, all the subs, and yeah, anything else you'd like to add, Chewy?
Buy a switch tester. But no, good luck on your brackets and keep voting.
Yeah, we'll see y'all next week.
Hold up, I guess you didn't know that I'm a different breed. Yes, indeed, got the king, he and me, taking off high speed with the key. I can be anything I wanna be. I'm too hot for you, dog. You can call me Sneaky Pete. Throwing shade at your boy. I'ma cut down your tree. Matter of fact, I'ma leave it just so I can get a breeze. This too easy. I got Christ, and I know that he got me. Undefeated in the game. Yeah, we on a winning spree. Knocking out our adversary toe to toe like I'm my league. Cause I'm a youngin' and